Frank Castle is back on the streets of New York, but there's a problem. He has forgotten every single person he's ever killed. What happens when the world's most dangerous vigilante becomes a weapon with no target? Marvel just hit the reset button on the Punisher, and it's a total bloodbath. Yo, what's up, Decoded family? We are diving deep into the absolute gutter of the Marvel Universe today. Before we get into the grit, if you love these deep dives into comic lore and want to stay ahead of the game, remember to subscribe to the channel if you like this type of content. We're decoding the stories the mainstream media is too afraid to touch. Let's get into it. We start on the pavement, no cinematic music, just the sound of heavy boots hitting the concrete. Frank Castle is drifting through the streets of New York, but he's a shadow of his former self. He describes the city as rotting and filthy, a place filled with the scarred and the paranoid. He has this haunting internal monologue where he admits he doesn't know why these specific diseased parts of the city feel like home, but they do. He's a man with a blank slate for a mind, yet his soul is still tuned to the frequency of the gutter. As he's walking, he isn't looking for trouble, but in this version of New York, trouble always finds the broken. A low-level thug with green hair thinks he's found an easy target and pulls a gun on Frank. He demands everything in Frank's pockets, not realizing he's staring into the eyes of a predator that doesn't even know it's a predator yet. The tension in these panels is crazy because we, the readers, know what's coming, but Frank is just as surprised by his own reaction as the mugger is. Instead of pleading for his life, Frank simply stops. He doesn't say a word, he reaches for his own coat, and for a split second, you think he's reaching for his wallet. But as the jacket swings open, the green-haired punk realizes he made the biggest mistake of his life. Frank reveals a massive arsenal of firepower strapped to his chest and waist, enough heat to level a city block. Before the kid can even pull the trigger, Frank's hands move on pure instinct. The firepower isn't just for show, it's an extension of his body, and even without a memory, Frank knows exactly how to use those tools of the trade. This back-to-basics approach by writer Benjamin Percy is exactly what we needed. It removes the ideology and the mission and leaves us with the raw mechanical essence of Frank Castle. He isn't killing for revenge right now because he doesn't remember what he's avenging, he's killing because it's the only thing his body knows how to do. He's a machine that's lost its programmer, and that makes him the ultimate wildcard in the 2026 Marvel landscape. He is a walking armory that doesn't know its own history. Now, we gotta talk about the medical nightmare that put Frank in this position. For the family who missed the Red Band prologue, Frank was basically Wilson Fisk's remote control puppet. Kingpin didn't just want an assassin, he wanted a tool he could switch on and off. He had a high-tech neural chip shoved directly into Frank's brain to control his every move and suppress his memories. It was a dark, unrated era for the character that pushed the boundaries of how much punishment Frank could actually take. Frank eventually regained his free will, but he didn't go to a hospital to get fixed. In one of the most savage scenes in recent Marvel history, Frank hijacked an ambulance and took 2 EMTs hostage with a bomb. He forced those medics to perform a high-stakes back-of-the-van surgery to rip that chip out of his neck with no anesthesia while the vehicle was practically in motion. It was a moment of absolute defiance, but you don't just let a couple of terrified medics scramble around your neural pathways without a cost. In the new 2026 series, we see that the aftermath of that operation is what's causing the amnesia. He has what the doctors are calling a brain bleed, and it's a literal ticking time bomb in his head. We see the physical toll this is taking when Frank tries to escape a scene in a stolen van. He's driving through the city when the pain hits, a massive debilitating spike in his cranium that causes him to black out and crash into a brick wall. This isn't the invincible Frank Castle from the 90s who could walk off a landmine. This is a man whose own body is turning against him. But Frank doesn't care about the diagnosis. He's addicted to the hunt. Even as he's staggering and losing his vision, he's tuning into the police radio looking for the next filth to purge. It adds a layer of vulnerability we've never seen. Every fight could be his last, not because the criminal is better than him, but because his brain might just shut down mid-trigger pull. This brain bleed era is shifting the Punisher from a superhero level threat to a gritty, high-stakes medical thriller. While Frank is wandering the streets trying to remember his name, his worst nightmare is making the power play of a century. Billy Russo, aka Jigsaw, is back, and he is a changed man. He's currently at Riker's island, but he isn't a prisoner. He's the architect of a new underworld. He's realized that with Wilson Fisk out of the picture, New York is a pie with nobody to eat it, and he's ready to take the biggest slice. Jigsaw's return is personal and philosophical. He has this conversation with the captive Tombstone where he makes his ambitions clear. He wants to be the new Kingpin. He forces Tombstone to sign over every single one of his criminal assets by threatening Tombstone's family. Jigsaw isn't just using guns anymore, he's using leverage and fear on a corporate scale. He's cold, calculating, and he's building what he calls a mosaic of crime that will cover every borough of the city. The parallel here is what makes the 2026 run so genius. Jigsaw's face is a puzzle that Frank Castle built years ago by throwing him through a pane of glass. Now the roles are reversed. Jigsaw is sitting back and watching Frank's mind fall apart like a puzzle. He isn't rushing to kill Frank, he's savoring the irony. He wants to be the one to provide the missing pieces of Frank's memory, but he wants to distort them so Frank becomes his own personal weapon of war. This version of Jigsaw is the most dangerous we've ever seen because he has a goal beyond just revenge. He sees the amnesiac Punisher as a tool. If he can gaslight Frank into believing they were actually partners, or that the police are the real enemy, he can use the world's most efficient killer to cement his own rule. Jigsaw is playing a long game of psychological warfare while Frank is still trying to figure out which side of the law he's supposed to be on. This brings us to the moment that had every longtime fan screaming, the return of David Microchip Lieberman. For the Decoded family who knows the lore, Frank and Micro have a history that ended in cold-blooded murder. Frank actually killed Microchip years ago for betraying the mission and trying to replace him. But in the 2026 run, Micro is back from the dead, and Frank has him locked in a dim room at gunpoint, demanding answers about his own past. Because of the amnesia, Frank doesn't remember the betrayal. He doesn't remember the muzzle flash or the blood. He just sees a man who claims to be his tech support and the only person who knows his true identity. There is a bizarrely human moment where Frank brings Microchip a chocolate bar he stole from a bodega earlier. It's a peace offering, but it's loaded with tension because we, the audience, know that these two men are supposed to be mortal enemies, not partners sharing a snack. Frank is desperate. He tells Microchip to fix whatever is wrong in his head, believing that Micro has the medical and technical skill to restore his memories. Microchip is playing along, acting like the loyal sidekick, but you can see the wheels turning in his head. Is he genuinely trying to help a broken friend, or is he terrified of what will happen if Frank suddenly remembers that he's the one who put Micro in the ground? It's a dynamic built entirely on a lie. This reunion is the biggest wild card in the series. If Microchip helps Frank, he might be restoring the man who will eventually kill him again. If he sabotages Frank, he's stuck with a brain-damaged killing machine that could snap at any moment. Every second they're on screen in that safe house is a ticking time bomb. Frank thinks he's found an ally, but in reality, he's invited his past executioner to sit at his table, and the payout for that mistake is going to be legendary. Frank Castle might be a shadow of himself right now, but a shadow is still the most dangerous thing in a dark alley. As the war for his memory heats up, NYC is about to become a war zone. Between Jigsaw's rise to power and the mark of the hand still lingering on Frank's back, things are about to get very, very bloody. We are watching a man fight a war on two fronts, one in the streets and one inside his own skull. If you guys found this breakdown helpful and you're hyped for the return of the classic Punisher, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you like this type of content and smash the like button. It helps us keep the lights on and keeps the Decoded family growing so we can keep bringing you the truth about these legends. This is Decoded Comics, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.